In 1986, audiences walked into theaters expecting a sultry romance starring Kim Basinger and Mickey Rourke. What they got instead was a film so controversial, so raw, and so emotionally manipulative behind the scenes that even its lead actress left the set in tears more times than she cared to remember. And one particular scene, the one that reduced Basinger to sobbing humiliation, was later locked away by MGM executives who decided it was simply too much for the public to handle. But what really went down during the making of 9.5 Weeks, and why does this film continue to fascinate, scandalize, and even traumatize decades later? Let's dig into the story. Now, on paper, 9.5 Weeks is a simple erotic drama. An art gallery worker, played by Basinger, falls into a torrid affair with a mysterious Wall Street man, played by Rourke. Their relationship escalates from playful seduction to full-blown psychological domination, all against a backdrop of neon-lit Manhattan nightlife. But peel back the glossy cinematography and famous food scene, and you'll find a film that was deeply manipulative, not just on screen, but in the way it was actually made. Director Adrian Lyne, fresh off Flashdance and later to helm Fatal Attraction and Indecent Proposal, decided that in order to capture authentic emotions, he'd have to blur the lines between acting and reality. His approach? Emotional warfare. He deliberately isolated Kim Basinger from Mickey Rourke off-set, forbidding them from rehearsing together or even speaking casually. While Rourke was given notes and reassurances, Basinger was left anxious, uninformed, and often on edge. Lyne wanted her discomfort to bleed into her performance, and it worked, though at a heavy cost. One of the most shocking choices Lyne made was to shoot the movie in chronological order, a rarity in Hollywood. Most productions film out of sequence for convenience. But here, Lyne wanted Basinger's breakdown to happen in real time. By the end of filming, she wasn't just acting like a woman emotionally unraveled. She truly was. And the camera captured every crack in her composure. But MGM had an even bigger problem than Basinger's tears: the film's original cut. Early versions of 9.5 Weeks were much darker, closer to the novel it was based on. That book was outright disturbing. John, the Rourke character, wasn't just controlling. He was violent, coercive, and downright criminal. Elizabeth, Basinger's character, ended up suffering a full psychiatric collapse. When MGM screened this faithful adaptation, they panicked. Executives feared audiences would walk out in disgust, or worse, condemn the studio outright. So entire scenes were chopped. Some of those deleted moments, still owned privately by Basinger herself, have never been seen by the public. Among them, a sequence so psychologically punishing that Basinger reportedly broke down sobbing after the camera stopped rolling, vowing never to put herself through anything like it again. And here's where things get even more twisted: that audition process. Kim Basinger wasn't exactly begging for the role. In fact, her first audition nearly scared her off for good. She was asked to perform an elaborate role-play scenario, essentially groveling like a prostitute in a demeaning sexual game scripted for John and Elizabeth. Humiliated, Basinger stormed out, swearing to her agent she wanted nothing to do with the film. But director Adrian Lyne wasn't about to let her go. He sent roses. He sent handwritten notes. And Mickey Rourke himself joined in the charm offensive. Eventually, after weeks of hesitation, Basinger relented. And once she did, the director wasted no time putting her through emotional boot camp. Before we go deeper, if you're enjoying this video so far, then please subscribe for more behind-the-scenes Hollywood stories that dig into the secrets, scandals, and shocking truths the studios don't want you to know. Now, back to 9.5 Weeks. Kim Basinger wasn't the only actress considered. Demi Moore auditioned at just 21 years old, but was deemed too innocent. Jacqueline Bisset flat out turned it down, horrified by the amount of nudity in the script. Isabella Rossellini and Kathleen Turner lobbied for it, but lost out. In hindsight, it's hard to imagine anyone but Basinger playing Elizabeth, fragile, sensual, and slowly undone by Rourke's manipulative John. And speaking of Rourke, he wasn't exactly the stable counterbalance. He lost 30 pounds for the role, giving him that lean, edgy look, and he often improvised lines designed to unsettle Basinger in real time. Off camera, the two had no real rapport thanks to Lyne's enforced isolation tactics. Basinger would later say she never really knew Rourke at all, which of course was the director's plan. The movie's production was also chaotic behind the scenes. 3 days before filming was to begin, TriStar Pictures abruptly pulled its funding. The entire project was nearly scrapped. Within 48 hours, another backer swooped in to save it, but the production was now under tighter financial scrutiny. Shooting dragged from April to August 1984, and afterward the film languished, unreleased, for almost 2 years. Rumors swirled that it might never see the light of day. When MGM finally tested it, the response was disastrous. People walked out. Executives demanded a new cut that softened the darkest edges, dialing down the abuse and playing up the romance. And then, of course, there's the famous food scene. Yes, the strawberries, the honey, the blindfold. It's been parodied endlessly, but at the time it was considered outrageous. What audiences didn't know was how long it took to shoot. Hours upon hours of sticky takes, with food spoiling under hot lights and Basinger forced to endure endless retakes. The result may look sensual, but Basinger recalled it as exhausting, messy, and not particularly sexy. Yet even amid the glamour and the infamy, Basinger was quietly cracking. She later admitted that she often cried between takes, overwhelmed not just by the humiliations on screen, but by Lyne's manipulations off it. And she wasn't exaggerating. At least one scene, the very one MGM banned, left her so devastated she couldn't face the crew afterward. MGM may have thought they were protecting audiences by cutting it, but in reality, they were protecting themselves from a scandal that would have sunk the movie. In the end, 9.5 weeks flopped in the US, but overseas, particularly in Europe, it became a massive hit. Audiences abroad embraced its taboo-breaking eroticism, even as American critics blasted it as empty and exploitative. And here's the kicker. Despite all the pain it caused her, Basinger has called the film her true acting breakthrough. She hated the process, but she admitted it pushed her into territory she'd never explored, and proved she had the chops to go beyond modeling in light roles. Today, the movie sits in that strange space of pop culture, mocked, remembered, and yet undeniably influential. Without 9.5 weeks, there's no Basic Instinct, no 50 Shades. And behind its glossy surface lies the sobering truth. The price Kim Basinger paid was very real, and some of those scars never faded. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your most unforgettable scene from 9.5 weeks? Was it the food, the role-playing, or something even darker? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into Hollywood's steamiest scandal, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more.